Hi, everybody. Steve Powers here with my great partner.
Gordon Watson. Hello, everybody.
And we're going to talk today about teams. Why start a team, how to start a team, and most importantly, how to make your team profitable. And so, Gordon, I want to talk today and kind of interview you because you have a team. Where are you located?
Right. Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City. And for those of you who don't know, your team is growing like crazy. How many agents, as of today, do you have working with you?
As of today, I've got 20 people on my team. I just added 3 last week.
Nice. And Gordon, what are you expecting your 20 people to do in calendar year 2022?
Well, right now, my minimum standard is 3 sales per month per person.
3 per person.
So
nice.
that should give us 60 sales per month on average. I think it's going to bump up a little bit from there. At least that's my goal. But I'm figuring we're going to do 60 to 70 sales a month.
And if you're thinking about starting a team, you got to talk to us here at watsonpowers.com because, Gordon, you're one of the most humble people I know. In the first quarter, your team, you had about 11 people on your team for the whole first 3 months of 22. Is that correct?
I don't remember exactly what we ended up the first quarter with, but somewhere in that ballpark.
And how many deals closed and pending did your team do in the first 90 days?
In the first 90 days, we were about 170, something like that. About 170.
Understand, for those of you who know Gordon, he has a wonderful daughter named Brianne. Her numbers are not counted. This is 11 people who did 170 deals in the first 90 days. So if you want to start a team, if you're thinking, how do I get a team? How do I make a team profitable? You kind of need to talk to us. So, Gordon, what would you say the first thing someone has to do when they decide, I want a team? What's the first thing they need to do?
Well, they've got to start. I'm a believer in starting with the end in mind, Steve. I mean, you got to know, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Knowing good and well that whenever you decide that, it's probably going to change as you get there. Okay?
Right.
But what do you want to develop? Because you may say, all right, I want to build up a team of 10 salespeople. All right. Then do you have the facility for that? Or are they going to all be working remotely off site? Because you have to decide, what do you want? And then what do you want it to look like? Okay. That's the first step. Then from that point, work backwards and start putting the pieces together. I mean, you've got to get what I'm going to call the infrastructure in place. Okay. Your independent contractor agreements, how you're going to work together with your team members. What is the CRM that you're going to use? Not all CRMs will build and design your website. So who is going to build and design your website? What's it going to consist of? Where are you going to get your leads from? How are they going to be dispersed to your salespeople? Are they going to be dispersed evenly? Are they going to be dispersed, based upon areas of specialty? There's all these questions that you have to ask yourself to know where you're going and what you want to do. And that's part of what we can help you with at Watson Powers Coaching.
So what I hear you saying, Gordon, is most people do it ass backwards. They decide they're going to have a team. They talk to their manager. Their manager goes, yeah, get a team, get a team. You've done 3 deals. You deserve a team. And then they just hire people and they bring on buyer's agents with no clue how to actually make it productive. So the first thing you said was you got to decide what you're looking to have in a team. And then number 2 was infrastructure. You got to decide the basic unit. And you and I have talked about this. It's like somebody who wants to open a restaurant. Okay, what kind of restaurant? Fast food, sit down, seafood, steak, Mexican food? What are you going to serve? And then your infrastructure has to be built upon your idea of a team. So the first step is really the infrastructure. What's step number 2 for guys like you?
Well, I mean, once you get the infrastructure in place, then, you got to start hiring salespeople. So the next step is recruiting and also, providing the leads. You got to figure out your lead sources so that when you do have salespeople that join your team, how are you going to feed the leads to them? And again, there are so many places that you can get leads from, and some of them are very expensive and some of them are reasonable. Again, that's something that we can help you guys with. If you're thinking about starting a team, we can help and guide you in the right direction. Where do you get the best leads for the money? Okay, because one of the things that Steve and I are very clear on at Watson Powers Coaching is this is not an ego-based program. This is a business. This is a profit-based program. And the advice that we give you guys is going to be all about how to make a profit, how to run a profitable business. So those are the next steps there, Steve.
So a couple of things you said, which you and I have a tendency just to talk about this all the time. I mean, Gordon and I talk almost every day.
Right.
We kind of glossed over have to hire salespeople. You and I both have ads that we give to our clients to go to Indeed and Wise Hire, local paper, to be social. Guys, when you're recruiting, it's an all-day affair. If you're going to run a team, you're a recruiter. That's what you do. If you're an NFL coach, you recruit people to come play for your team. If you're the coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide football team, you're constantly trying to recruit people. So we can help you with the recruiting. Then the next thing you said, Gordon, was we got to decide where we're going to buy our leads and how they're going to be dispersed, which includes independent contractor agreements, right, Gordon? We have those for everybody.
Yeah, right.
That's not to be taken lightly, guys. Gordon, what are some of the pitfalls when people don't have a good independent contract agreement, which most of us don't when we started a team? It's kind of loosey-goosey, isn't it?
Well,
What's the benefits of having a good, formal foundation for an independent contract agreement?
I'm a big believer in very clear, concise communication. Okay, you're not going to have whenever communication is poor, then there's a lot of misunderstandings. And so the independent contractor agreement, first of all, I'm going to tell you, it's a working document. It's not a one revision and you're going to have that same document the same way for forever. You're going to learn, it's going to evolve. You're going to make adjustments to it. That's all part of it, but you want to make sure that everything is clear between you and your team members, because we don't want any hard feelings. We don't want any tension because, I assumed one thing and they assumed another. Let's remove the assumptions and put everything in writing and make sure that it's clear. I also want to emphasize to you guys, take the time. Don't just hand it to them and say, sign here. Okay. Take the time to go through it. Okay. When I take all of my salespeople through what I call Masters in Training, it's a training program to teach them the basics of what to do. On the first day, the very first thing I cover is the independent contractor agreement. And I do not ask them to sign it right then and there. I ask them to take it home, read it, review it, highlight anything they have a question about, bring it back to me the next day. If they have questions, I'll address the questions. Otherwise, then go ahead and sign it, and it will move forward from there. But I don't want to rush somebody into getting a quick signature like you might try to do on a listing agreement. Now, this is a business agreement I've got between my salespeople and myself, and I don't want there to be any misunderstandings.
Because you and I know that the team leader who gives an independent contract agreement to a buyer's agent, it's a commitment on both parties. It's not only their commitment to work with you, you're committing certain time and money allocation to them.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Not small. That's that old term, it don't matter till it matters, then it matters. The independent contract agreement doesn't matter until there's a problem. And then we got to go to the writing to see how to resolve this so everyone's treated fairly. So Gordon, infrastructure, the next thing is we have to buy leads and advertise and bring agents on. What's step number 3?
Then it's training. How are you going to train your salespeople?
Right.
So once you got the infrastructure in place, it's recruit and train, recruit and train, recruit and train. Steve, one of the questions that comes up a lot to both of us too is, not only why do I want to start a team, but I think it's something that we want to clarify is, all right, so what really is a team? Some people are afraid of that word.
Really? What?
What? Well, they just associate it with negative. So think about it this way, guys. All you're doing is multiplying your efforts. Okay. Steve and I both, probably you guys watching this podcast with us, probably have listed and sold a bunch of houses. And now all I'm trying to do is take and multiply my efforts and teach these team members, these people that are part of my organization, how they can go out and do it. So I'm sharing my knowledge, my experience with them. I'm empowering them so that they can go out on behalf of my team and list and sell homes, and we all benefit from it. Okay. Another question, Steve, another question I want to bring up is, so who should start a team? Okay. Do you have to be an experienced veteran agent? Can you be brand new? Okay. Well, I mean, Steve, when people ask you, I know you get that question all the time, like I do. What do you tell them?
If somebody says, I want to start a team, my first thing is, really? Why? Because if they don't have a why they want a team, then we have further discussion.
Right.
So many people decide team is the new iPhone or the new green, it's the new lingo, that they want a team, but they don't understand the dynamic shift they have to make in their business. They're no longer a restaurant owner, they're a restaurateur. They set policies and standards, other people go to work. It's a different mentality. So everybody wants to start a team. There's lots of ways to do a team, but your why has to be strong enough to leverage your skill set to 2, 5, 10, 20, 200 people. So It comes back to the why.
You know, I would say there's almost a prerequisite, and I emphasize almost a prerequisite, that you have to have got some, had some experience in listing and selling homes. Okay. You've got to have some experience in that because you're going to ideally be teaching others how to do it. Now, there are some teams where the team leader has very little, if any, experience, but what they've done is they've gone out and hired someone who has that knowledge and experience and made them the trainer, the sales manager, the operations manager, whatever you want to call them. I mean, you can structure it that way, but most of your teams are going to be developed by people who have got the knowledge and experience of being out there in the trenches every day and listing and selling homes and teaching others how to do it. But I want to emphasize, you can start a team with very little knowledge if you have the finances and the wherewithal to go out and hire the proper people to fill that gap that you're not able to fill.
Let's shift for a second on the training.
Yeah.
As you and I both know, it's where that leveraged knowledge gets passed on to everyone who works on our team. Why do you think most teams fail in that transfer of training? What do they do wrong with their training so their buyer's agents are just kind of walking around like the Walking Dead? They're there, but they're not making any money. So What do you see as the pitfall in training for most people who start a team? Right.
Well, I mean, there's lots of different, I mean, you can call anything training. That doesn't mean it's good. Okay. So, you've got to have the proper training. You've got to have the person in place, whether it's you or whether it's somebody that you've hired that's able to, just because you know it doesn't mean you can teach it, Steve. You know that.
Right.
Okay. And so you got to make sure that not only do you have the knowledge, but you have the ability to relay that to your salespeople in such a way that they get it. And then you also have to have patience. Okay.
Now, I'm not a patient guy, so honestly, I'm not very patient.
This is not one of our strengths, either one. But I mean, you can't just say, all right, I told you one time, now you should know what to do. Right. Well, you're going to have to tell them, and you're going to have to retell them, and you're going to have to hold them accountable, and you're going to have to encourage them. It's not. I'll tell you guys, running a team is not for everybody. If your sole motivation running a team is just to make a lot of money, you're probably going down the wrong path. Okay, because you've got to be willing to invest in this business, invest in these people, and if it's just about making money, then it's probably not the right decision.
Let's go to CRM. We, as Watson Powers, we don't really care what CRM they use. No. What we care, though, is that the CRM is functionable for a team. Yeah. What are some of the problems we have when a buyer agent on a team refuses to use the CRM for their calls, their texts, and the emails? Instead of going through the CRM, they decide to do the Hillary Clinton server. They decide to do it outside of the CRM. What are some of the inherent problems on that?
Well, inside of a team, there's got to be systems and there's got to be consistency. You know, I don't know if I ever told you this. Did I ever tell you what my very first job was? I was 15 years old. Besides cutting grass, my very first job was at McDonald's. Okay, and I was a cook at McDonald's.
No way. And a little hat and everything?
I had to wear the hat and everything.
Oh, my God.
And I don't remember exactly, but I want to say that a Big Mac required 2 pickles. Okay. And every Big Mac in the country should have 2 pickles. Nice. Because that is the McDonald's way of making a Big Mac. But when you're running a team, you've got to be like McDonald's. You have a way to do things. You have procedures, you have systems. And again, that's something that we can help you with at Watson Powers, is we've already got those procedures and those systems in place and can save you a lot of time and headache. Because believe me, there's a lot of teams out there trying to wing it, which comes back to your question of why do so many teams fail? It's because they don't have the system. They don't have the procedures. They're flying by the seat of their pants and flying it right into the ground.
Gordon, I coach an agent I've had in my schedule about 8 months now, and they came to me with 6 or really 7 buyer agents, all of them doing nothing. And the problem was they didn't have a standard for anything, not a standard ICA, not a standard training, not a standard daily schedule, not a standard social media campaign. Everybody got to do what they wanted, and so nobody did anything. And I kept saying, don't confuse activity with achievement. And so what we did with this group is that we got them all on the same page, which meant 4 of them left because they never really wanted to work. He's since hired 6 more, so we're about 9 productive people doing 3 to 4 deals each. It's because of what you talked about, having standards, having a system, and he's running a team now that's doing, if we just do the math, somewhere around 22 to 24 deals a month, plus his 7. So it's a good, profitable business. And it's duplicatable. Let's go back to your master's in training. Okay. I think you and I agree the first 2 weeks with an agent are imperative to get them on the right track, yes?
Right, definitely.
Without going too far, because I know our master's in training program is quite in-depth.
Yeah.
What are the overviews of master in training, which differs from going to the board of realtors and spending 2 weeks there and learning stuff that doesn't make appointments? So what are a couple of the highlights that we teach people to do in the first 2 weeks with their new buyer agents in your master's in training?
Well, as I answer this question, Steve, and those of you that are watching this, let me tell you, there's more than one way to run a team, okay? And that's the first thing that Steve and I are going to start off with, is finding out what it is that you want to do. Now, I'm going to tell you my way of doing it. And one of the requirements that I have when you join my team is you cannot have another job, okay? I do not allow anybody to have another job when they come to work for me. Why? Well, because I am going to pour my training into them, and I am going to give them field work and field assignments to do out of respect for the fact that they have let go of their other employment and their other source of income. And as quickly as possible, I want them to become competent that they can get out there and list and sell a house. So I take them through basic things such as how to write a contract, okay, how to do basic functions on the MLS that you're going to need, how to properly show a home, how to build up your database, your center of influence database, because that's quite honestly where most of the first transactions come from, is their friends and their family members and people that they know. So just these basic things that they need to know, because we all know that have been in the real estate business for a while, it takes a long time of doing it full time before you really feel like, okay, I kind of think I know what I'm doing now. And so I'm also wanting to instill that knowledge and confidence that even though they've only been trained for 2 weeks, they can still get out there and sell a house. Quite honestly, Steve, I can't remember the last person that's gone through masters in training that did not sell a house their first month.
Yeah, please understand something, guys. Gordon and I have been doing this real estate thing for decades. You go to most real estate companies, they say, well, if you spend the first 3 to 4 months and you get your first deal, you're doing good. Gordon and I have developed a 90-day team concept, and we call it the 1, 2, 3. We expect anyone who goes onto a team to do one deal in the first 30 days, the second 30 days do 2 deals, and the third 30 days, they do 3. So in a 90-day period, your new buyer agent will have 6 deals under contract. And Gordon, that's on the low end. You've had, I forgot who that nice person is when I went to visit your office, but she joined you in February of 21, I believe. And how many deals she do in her first month?
9.
9. No real estate experience, right?
Well, I'm going to tell you, this is as Paul Harvey says, this is the rest of the story.
Yeah.
She was my personal assistant for 18 months. So this was back when I was in production. She was processing a lot of sales, so she had a lot of experience in seeing what they were like. But as far as actually making the sales, no. She started in February, and by the end of February had made 9 sales in her first month. And I want to say finished out her first 11 months into that year was just under, oh my goodness, I just went blank. I want to say roughly 80. 80
deals her first year.
Yeah.
And so it's so funny, Gordon. You and I have been coaching this, and we believe the sky's the limit for anyone who comes to work for us and anybody who works for anybody on the teams. And so, Gordon, I think we want to end this with understanding, guys, that the world has changed. There is a lot of need for a team, but not just a team in the fundamental sense, but in the more advanced sense. When you've got someone like Gordon bringing someone onto his team in 11 months, she does 80, and she's not alone. You have other people doing 7, 8 deals a month, second, third, fourth month. Guys, if you have a team, if they're not making any money, if they're not productive, you're probably doing some things that need correction. So give us a call at watsonpowers.com and find out why people are joining us to learn how to make a team that's actually fun and profitable and duplicatable. Right, Gordon?
Yeah, absolutely. And this was
last
fun.
Word, Gordon, on this? What's your last word?
I just say, call us, let us help you. We can save you a lot of time. We can save you a lot of headache, and we can make you a lot of money.
Man, freedom of time, profit, duplicatable, and it's a business you can actually later on in your life lease out, sell, whatever you choose to do. I'm Steve Powers. You are
Gordon Watson.
Give us a call. Thanks for watching.
Thank you, guys.